Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we have a very special guest who is Matt Stang, co-founder of Swannies. Thank you so much for being here today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Matt, as you said. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I started Swannies Golf Apparel back in 2015. So we're now 10 years in. Swannies is a modern and affordable golf apparel brand. Yeah, and we started back then with a goal to make golf more fun, more casual, more affordable. But yeah, we're based out of Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota, went to the University of Minnesota and majored in finance and entrepreneurship, and then did consulting out in Boston for a couple of years and made the leap into entrepreneurship a couple years out of college to get Swanee started.
Awesome. And why'd you start your business? Why not just stay in consulting and finance?
Yeah, it was something that I knew I didn't, consulting in general was something I knew I didn't want to do when I was 35 or 40. I think perfect to do when I was in my young 20s and have a lot of fun traveling the country. But at some point as an entrepreneurship major, knew I wanted to start something. And Buddy and I came up with an objectively bad idea for golf sandals, so that was the inspiration to, yeah, move back home and sort of live out of the parents' basement and take the leap into entrepreneurship.
Awesome. That's amazing. And why don't you tell me a little bit more about Swannies? What do you guys do now? Obviously, you're not just selling flip-flops. So what's the deal now?
Yeah, so kept the same theme and mission around the brand, and pivoted into apparel. Felt like the apparel, especially back then, the industry is completely transformed now. But especially back pre-COVID, was really expensive and a lot of solid and striped polos like geared towards old male country club members, right? And it felt like, hey, as a mid-20s kid playing at a public course instead of a private course, like there it didn't feel like there's a brand kind of aligned with, yeah, what we were looking for as consumers. So wanted to make Swannies modern in terms of stuff you could wear on and off the course and affordable that yeah, didn't cost 100 or 120 bucks for a polo. So it took the better part of, even once we pivoted, it took another like 3 years to really find our footing in apparel and feel like our brand could stack up against the competition. We mainly sell through golf courses and retailers across the US, Canada, and Europe. So that's kind of how we've built the brand and gained a following. And post COVID, the game and the industry has completely transformed, where it got a lot younger, got a lot more diverse, a lot more kids and women playing, and people, golf courses and companies within golf really have started trying to attract that younger generation. So it's worked really well from a timing perspective for our brand as well. And just continuing to accelerate post COVID and be something that at first we were trying to convince customers and courses to bring in our brand. It kind of switched post COVID where they were specifically seeking out our brand because they were seeking out that customer.
Right. And what took you from being that, small startup with you and your co-founder to being where you're at today and two different continents and I'm sure multiple different countries.
Yeah, a ton of hard work and a lot of support, a really good team, I would say, are kind of the main things. I think one thing that was really helpful for us was we started, like, our brand was nothing yet, and the apparel that we were coming up with and even the sandals were like objectively bad. But we started selling to golf courses right away and had customers right away to give us feedback that it was bad, because we just, you don't know that on your own until somebody tells you and you get that feedback from a customer. So that was really helpful, to be able to go back to the drawing board and continue to iterate on our designs, iterate on our price point, iterate on our styles that we were coming up with. And we just kept growing kind of in a linear fashion through golf courses. So we started with 10 around the Twin Cities. Then we kind of moved into Wisconsin and Iowa as well, and went from like 10 to 50 to 100. Then we hired our first two sales reps, one that we was down in Arizona and one in Chicago, and sort of expanded the business through sales reps and golf courses in those areas, and can continue to take that across the U.S. into new areas. So yeah, for us it was a good way to continue to get feedback, continue to iterate while growing the business at the same time. Um, and luckily there are enough golf courses in the US where it can go pretty poorly at the first 100 or even 250, and you got plenty more to continue to sell to down the road.
Right, it's awesome. There's always some more fish in this, always more fish in the sea. That's
Yeah.
good. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that look on it. Well, now that we kind of have an idea of, how you got started and what the company looks like and your success, how do you fit into the bigger role of the company?
Yeah, so my co-founder Adam and I kind of split the business in two sides. So I act as more like CFO, and we've got a COO who kind of pairs alongside me. And then Adam acts as kind of CMO, and then he's got a CSO, Chief Sales Officer, that pairs alongside him. So yeah, I think it's been a transition over the last few years of trying to, as we've built our team, try and go from us, Adam and I, being the ones kind of making every critical decision to getting more leadership around us, and then really empowering our managers, reporting to us to own their departments, make their feel confident making their decisions and managing their teams as well. And that's something that just have had to learn over time, and continue to sort of look in the mirror and be like, okay, how do I, a lot of our team members are, first time managers. How do I train them? They're not just going to come in knowing how to be managers. How do I get them to learn that and figure it out along the way with them? So yeah, every day is sort of different, but we sort of split the business into those two sides, and um, yeah, have kept growing the team sort of in that fashion where we're able to start taking a step back a bit from some of the
Yeah.
day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, that's always the goal, right? Is to fire yourself and get out of it so you
That
can
is
spend
well said.
also and
Yes.
and you mentioned they're getting out of the day to day. I'm curious what right now does your day to day look like?
Yeah, a little more on like the CFO specific side of things.
Yeah,
And then yeah, kind of trainings and support. I think one of the best things for me about being an entrepreneur is just every day is different. And yeah, you might come into a day with a plan and it sort of goes askew and you end up doing something else, but
right.
not having that variety and flexibility and getting to yeah, continue to learn in everything that you do. I think both those things have been things that I love about, yeah, how building Swannies and kind of the entrepreneurial journey.
Of course, that's awesome, right? I love hearing all these different stories, and with COVID being one of the major trends for golf, we also have another one in almost every professional industry now is AI. I'm curious, how has that impacted your business or your growth strategy?
Yeah, have and by no like I'm the farthest thing from an AI expert, so take everything here with a grain of salt. And golf is very antiquated in general. So we're yeah, behind the times a bit. But I think for us as just a growing startup, the first important thing I think has been empowering our team to use it and get comfortable in AI, and ask questions and have that learning mindset with it. Um, Ultimately, yeah, I think it gives you like a person sitting right next to you that you can bounce ideas off of and iterate and research. So for us, we're trying to get our team to use it in a way where they are iterating on process, searching like best practices. As we're scaling, we're continuing to do new things that we haven't done before. And so that means setting up new processes and using AI to help build those out, and yeah, search best practices has been really helpful. So trying to mostly as a yeah, kind of in the co-CEO role of managing the team and the business, getting making sure that the team is using it as a tool and in a valuable way to do their jobs better.
Right. Yeah, I think the most businesses or the businesses that see the most use out of AI is are the ones that integrate it fully into their business rather than just having a couple people using ChatGPT. You got everyone on board optimizing their processes and their back end stuff and making their work more efficient and more valuable. I think that's great that you guys are already doing that. Especially like you said, the golf industry is very slow to adapt to technology trends and all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad someone in the industry is starting to get on the new trend. Well, awesome. So what's working really well for you guys right now? What's kind of been your key factors of success and what's kind of been frustrating?
Yeah. A good question that like yeah, kind of gets you to take a step back and look at your business as a whole. The I guess I'll start with the frustrating because kind of a good segue, I think. And more so a challenge with us, the and kind of me personally too, are younger team members who are first time managers. It's been and not having grown a startup myself before. Um, Figuring out how to empower them to manage a team of anywhere from like 2 to 5 and own their departments and understand like a department P&L and all that stuff and kind of get more corporate with the bigger team has been a major challenge and something that like Adam and I have just had to get better at in terms of learning. So for us it's kind of the like ups and downs of entrepreneurship, but like a year 12 to 18 months ago it was like, oh, like why aren't our managers managing well? Like why can't they take over some of the decisions that we're like still having to make, and why do we have to lead them through so many things? And sort of had to take a look at the mirror and be like, we're not training them well enough. Like we're not teaching them how to be managers and learn some of the stuff that we learned along the way. So I think that was a helpful like turning point. Then we started doing a few different things, but one was like weekly manager trainings where we're training on different topics like AI and how can we use that throughout our business, or um, yeah, soft skills and hard skills like being a leader and managing a team and more of the soft skill side.
Hmm.
um, Having weekly manager meetings where like each department owner has to share a metric. They have to share a weekly win, they have to share a specific metric and how it's tracking, and then they have to have a key commitment for what they're going to do by next week's meeting. So like getting the organization, yeah, scaling that side of the organization with like just the general number of employees was something we had to do better. And I think a challenge that we're coming through now, or coming out the other side of now, that's been an interesting one, or a learning one for sure. On the other side of terms of yeah, like what we do really well, I think just understanding our customer at the start, we were designing the brand for ourselves, and that was
Right.
really helpful to be like, okay, what price are we willing to pay? Like, what styles do we want to wear? Uh, Hoodies were not at all popular back then, but the golf industry now, like that's all, like PGA Tour pros are wearing that and people are now wearing that into work, and
Hmm.
it's completely different. Our three best selling products are hoodies. And so we were, not to say like we were the first ones to do that by any means, but we're on the earlier side of doing things like that, and printed polos, and just making sure that we were continuing to iterate towards what we wanted and what our customer wanted along the journey of building the brand. Um, I think what allowed us to do that was being in those golf courses and having like with
Yeah.
each golf course, you've got to have, for the most part, a one-on-one conversation with that pro or buyer. And like they interact with their customers every single day. And so getting feedback from them about what they want and what they want to see, incorporating that into the brand, was just a really helpful way for us to do it while also generating revenue. That wasn't, just sitting in like a room trying to come up with designs and styles on our own.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you mentioned, you were creating the brand for yourself at first, right? I mean, that's got to be the easiest way to start a business and the best way to start a business because you're your own customer. So of course you're gonna understand what your client base and your target audience wants. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys saw some success there. And yeah, it's always hard to train some young kids out of college how to be professional business people and be able to manage a group of other people when they've never done it before. I understand that. And you'll get there, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll see big things from you guys. And you mentioned these challenges that you're having and what you've been doing well. And I'm curious, how are you turning that into your goals for the next 6 to 12 months? What are you guys looking to achieve?
Yeah, so we just had a couple cool milestones that I think looking back or taking a step back, were really cool. We got into St. Andrews, in Scotland, the home of golf, and also
Awesome.
got into Pebble Beach. And so kind of having those like two flagship golf accounts, selling the brand from, hot gluing a golf sandal together in my parents' garage like 10 years earlier was pretty awesome just to take a step back and like that wasn't our goal or like definition of success getting started, but I think it's a pretty cool one now to be like, all right, like we've made it. We've done something
That's awesome. Yeah.
something cool here and pushed the game. Yeah, over the next year, I think we are continuing to try and push international. Europe is new for us, so continuing to move in that direction and haven't touched Asia yet, but that's the second biggest golf market or potentially even the biggest golf market in the world.
Of course.
Um, and then, yeah, a big thing for us is just navigating tariffs and seeing how that's all going to play out. And uh, yeah, just navigating where then making sure we're still fitting in at the right spot where we want to in the market against the competition from a price point and brand perspective. So yeah, those are kind of the main things we're monitoring. Within each of our revenue channels, we've still got a lot of room to grow, even domestically here. So that part is exciting too, and kind of getting the team. Yeah, we've built the revenue side and making sure the employee side as well has the foundation for us to continue to scale the revenue.
Right. That's awesome. Getting into Asia would be huge. It's definitely one of the largest, like you said, if not the largest market for golf over there, especially Japan and Korea, all those other spots. Um,
Yep.
I'm curious, what's in it for you? I mean, personally, like scaling the business. Obviously, it's cool to generate more revenue and get accomplish these milestones, but no one does it for no reason. So what's in it for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Getting started, I think I was really passionate about golf. And so it was, I'd grown up working and working around golf and playing golf and was an Evans Scholar in college. And so it was a lot easier for me to just pour my entire like my identity was Swannies and getting it started in my 20s. Um, Now I've got a wife and a 3-year-old at home, and so that identity changes
Of
a
course.
little bit or a lot into yeah, being a good dad and husband and family life. And so I think like looking over the 10 years, I think we've accomplished what we set out to of pushing golf to be more fun and more affordable and casual. And that like in and of itself, I think is yeah, is a big part of the success we were looking for. Now I think the next stage is or the looking out is a totally different challenge of like yeah, scaling to a like legitimate apparel brand and a potentially $100 million apparel brand. Um, and I think right like Adam and I have learned how to sell to golf courses really, really well.
Hmm.
Um, Scaling a brand to that size, I think is yeah, is probably some experience that we don't have. And so, figuring out like who to potentially bring into the team to help with that next evolution of the business. And yeah, take the brand to I think take the brand from being just a pure golf brand to more of a lifestyle brand. And what
Gotcha.
excites me about that is right, it's just a new chapter, a new challenge, and more learning that haven't gone through before.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned the family and the wife and kid, and that being the driver for you. I think that's the driver for a lot of people, and if it's not, it's probably one of the biggest things that drives most people. And yeah, it's cool that you want to be a lifestyle brand as well, kind of going from being more like a FootJoy or something, or one of those golf brand specifics, going into more of like a Polo or a Polo Ralph Lauren or Peter Millar, where they're across these different sports and avenues of life. I think that'd be awesome for you guys as well as you continue to scale. Well, we've covered almost all of the main topics I wanted to cover today. Thank you so much for going to depth on what you do and sharing so much. But before we go, you as an entrepreneur, I'm curious, what's the biggest lesson you learned along your journey in the golf industry, or maybe even consulting in Boston as well, that's helped you become who you are today?
Yeah, love that question. I think twofold. One, for me, it was a lot easier to be an entrepreneur, and I think a lot had a lot higher success potential in being an entrepreneur doing something that I was really passionate about. And so yeah, that being golf and really believing in the mission just allowed me and made it really easy for me to like pour my entire yeah, just kind of entire life into that over the course of building Swannies. So I'd say that being the first thing, like doing something that it's going to be a lot easier to do something you're passionate about, if you're taking the leap into entrepreneurship. And then the second piece for me that I talk about a lot that was really valuable for us was and still is, but getting started was getting that early market feedback. I think like our product was far from perfect and the brand was like far from where it needed to be, but getting initial customers to give us feedback and tell us things that needed to change was incredibly helpful. Because we wouldn't have made those changes and wouldn't have gotten the brand to where it needed to be without getting that customer feedback right away.
Right. You gotta be know you gotta know what people want, right? I mean, like you said, you're your own customer and that's how it started. But and your opinion's not the only one that matters. The other people might have different opinions that it's affecting your guys' business and how the product is selling. I think it's definitely valuable to go and say, okay, they don't like this, but they like this one. This one's selling better, but this one's not selling better. They don't like the colors on this one. This one's too bright, or I don't like the tiger stripes on this one, or whatever it may
Yep.
be, right? But you get to go back and say, okay, let me continue to improve and build on this. So you can be that lifestyle brand. So you can be in three different continents instead of two. And I think that's awesome. I thank you for sharing. I'm curious, rather than being the typical entrepreneur that goes and starts, multiple companies and kind of just bounces around different places, what made you want to build this legacy with Swannies rather than just starting little businesses, getting in and getting out?
Yeah. I haven't been asked that before. That's a really good question. I think part of it is just that it took a long time to build the brand that we wanted.
Yeah.
We didn't have like a ton of investment getting started and yeah, nobody was super keen on like, hey, I'm gonna invest a ton of money into a golf apparel brand. So it took a long time to scale the business into having a team and enough revenue where it was meaningful, I think. So that was part of it. We wanted to get to a point where yeah, like we felt like we were successful in what we built, and we built something that was meaningful, and that's taken yeah the better part of 10 years as opposed to just a few. I always talk like we've scaled our ware. I think the best example of that is we've scaled our warehouse from like 2,000 square feet to 35,000 square feet over the past like 3 years, but just like the amount of more product you have to ship out as a product company to continue to grow revenue is pretty wild, and the amount of space you need. So it's been yeah, it's been wild to just see like the physical constraints of
Yeah.
scaling a product brand.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see where we go from here. I think I've got a lot of like teachers in my family, so teaching or college professor would be a cool route later in life. But yeah, probably a one and done in terms of entrepreneur. Yeah, and starting other businesses. I think for me, like the mental capacity that it takes to be an entrepreneur is and at least to like for us we had a I like to say we had a B idea um with like a team that was just willing to work super hard, but that mental capacity that it takes like when you go home and on the weekends and like work never stops and that's constantly what you're thinking about, going through that once for 10 plus years is enough in my lifetime. I do not need to do that again.
Right, I gotcha. That's definitely they say you'd rather be an entrepreneur than working 9 to 5. But in reality, when you're an entrepreneur, you're working way more than a 9 to 5 would. You're working 80, 90 hours a week and working these ridiculous amounts. But it's all
Yeah,
something you enjoyed. It's your passion. So I would say it's a lot better than working a traditional job. Well, awesome.
totally agree.
Before we wrap it up, where can people find you? Where can I go find some Swannies? Where can I go get me some polos and some hoodies? And where might they find you on socials?
Totally. Easiest part is our website, swannies.co. You can just Google Swannies Golf as well. Otherwise, yeah, hopefully your local golf course or one of your local golf courses is carrying the brand. If not, we always love to say ask them to carry the brand. But we've got local sales reps around the country that sell into their state or states. So those are the two best spots.
Awesome. And what are your guys' socials?
Yeah, I'm not on social media, so that's
Okay.
I did not specifically dodge that question, but that's probably why. Our Instagram handle is Swannies Golf, and probably that's the best spot to go check us out.
Awesome. I hope everyone goes checks it out, and I'm personally gonna give me some Swannies after this. It'll be exciting. Get rep the brand half too. But Matt, thanks again for coming on. You've shared some awesome things and give a deeper view into the golf industry and definitely the apparel industry within golf. And again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ethan.
Of course.